Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee and Football presented by Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined each and every morning by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. And guys, we are 17 days away from kickoff. That's hard to believe, but we're inching closer. So tell us who your favorite number 17 is. Tell us where you're checking in from, what you're drinking, and get your questions in. And I think we're going to start with everyone's most recent favorite number 17 here. Not the highest quality picture, but had to get that look. Everybody should know what that moment's from, I would assume anyway.
Little Cameron Dicker action right there. Just OU with a nice little sly smile, maybe a little wink. I'm going to the sorority houses after this tonight. You know that. That's what that wink was all about.
And then our other one today, guys. Still playing in the
NFL, isn't he?
Yep.
Still playing. Made his way on to special teams. I ended up being a Pro Bowl for special teams, but then became one of the better safeties in the league as well. Adrian Phillips out of Garland High. Jerry, you're up in the Metroplex today, working your way around different schools, various schools. Miles Onyebule, by the way, another number 17. He was working for TikTok corporate at one point, I know. And I think he's now working for the University of Texas in the fundraising department. Fred Acorn from way back in the day is a number 17. He was a good defensive back for Fred Akers. Some good stuff there, guys. Look, Longhorns have 17 days away. I think we got to start, Jerry and Blake, though, with probably the news of the day. And that's who Texas tried at running back yesterday after the announcement that Christian Clark is lost for the season with a torn Achilles tendon, as well as Cedric Baxter being out for the season. That's two big backs for the Longhorns that they've lost. Steve Sarkisian acting fairly quickly. He tried Darian Gillette last week and during the scrimmage. This week, two other guys getting some time at running back, at least in Tuesday's practice. They were Ryan Niblett, a wide receiver that had been previously reported, and then tight end Juan Davis, according to CJ Vogel, also seeing time at running back in last night's practice.
Yeah, Ryan Niblett does not surprise me. He played, I mentioned him pretty early on, just having seen him in high school, knowing the role he played at Eisenhower. He played some running back, wildcat quarterback. He's done a lot of that. He can also be a true threat in the passing game out of the backfield. Which I think has a ton of value in Steve Sarkisian's scheme and kind of understanding maybe what the plan was headed into this season. I think he has a lot of value there. And I mean, I'll say this too. If you can't break into those top six wide receivers, but you run 10-5 and you 190, 195 pounds, and Steve Sarkisian can find a way to maximize what you can give this team, especially with the running backs at injury to running back so far this year, I think that's a really, really good move. And all Ryan Niblett has to do is make a few plays in the passing game this year from the running back position for that move to bear fruit. And he will probably.
Hey, look, he might play more at running back than he would have at receiver this year.
Right, no doubt.
I mean, that's a win-win. It's just, reapportioning what you have in the holster, your bullets, and putting them in the barrel. So I like it. I like that move. Juan Davis, a bigger back though, Jerry and Blake. He played some wildcat quarterback or some quarterback at oh my goodness, where did he play? He played up out of Dallas.
Everman. Juan Davis played. Yeah, Juan Davis played a quarterback, a lot of wildcat quarterback. He ran the ball from quarterback formations. It was quarterback run game at Everman High School his senior year. So he's a guy that has experience lining up 5 yards behind the offensive line, taking a snap, reading a linebacker, seeing things in his peripheral. And it's more of a downhill thing that you'll be asked to do. But the other thing may be from a pass pro standpoint, Bobby.
Yeah, pass pro is huge, right? That's one piece of it, Jerry, to your point. Another is I think that they need lead blockers too, and that if they're going to run that pony package, he can do that better than probably Wisner or Blue at this point. So there's a number of different pieces. All he has to be is a functional runner. They're not looking for a game breaker in Juan Davis out there at running back. They're looking for someone that is literally just functional and can get things done for them as well. So good stuff there yesterday. Longhorns and the team now 17 days away, as Blake reminds us. Guys, we've got a lot of stuff going on over the next couple of weeks. We got a special guest coming up here later today. Blake lined up the great Aaron Williams, former Longhorn out of Round Rock. He's going to be joining us, played in the NFL, 3-year player at the University of Texas. He'll be joining us in a little bit later in the show today, too.
That's right. And we got a lot to talk about. Oh, go ahead, Jerry.
I want to bring something up because Gilbert Martinez made a good comment that I think we should mention when talking about running back. Is this panic mode? If not, when is it? I would say this. I don't think this is panic mode by Steve Sarkisian. I would say this is preparation mode, because the reality for me is Texas has 3 scholarship running backs now with some really bad luck in the first week and a half of fall camp. And Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant hadn't hit anybody yet. Deion Walker hadn't hit anybody yet. Georgia and Oklahoma haven't hit anybody yet. This is all about preparation, because Texas now it's 3 scholarship running backs and nobody's been hit on a Saturday yet. But they're 17 days away from being hit on a Saturday. And there's going to be more guys. There's going to be another running back getting nicked up this year. It's the position. It's a physical position. Texas is playing a physical schedule this year. And I think Sark is this is preparation, not panic. If somebody else, if a key guy went down early in the season, then it gets the panic.
Okay, guys. Well, before we move on to the next subject, Bobby, I'm going to let you tell folks out there about Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get to some Jade Barron and Quinn Ewers interviews from last night, Adam Lowy and his group over at the Lowy Law Firm have been helping injured Texans for 20-plus years now. Visit LowyLawFirm.com if you've been injured in a truck wreck, car wreck, ATV, motorcycle accident of any kind, including big truck accident. Give them a call if you think you might be due compensation. They will give you a free consultation. LowyLawFirm.com. Again, Adam and his firm focus on results for their clients. LowyLawFirm.com. Thank you, Adam, for your sponsorship of Wednesday morning's Coffee and Football.
As you said, Bobby, there was a media availability yesterday, and I'm going to let you run folks through that and now get some clips queued up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first one you have, Blake, for us is Jade Barron. I asked him a little bit about injuries and how he's dealing with it with the team as a leader. And he took it in a way I thought that was kind of interesting. He actually wasn't worried about replacing the players. He said Steve Sarkisian recruits high-level players. He was more concerned about the individuals and their path back after being injured and what it meant.
Yeah, we suffered a lot of injuries. I've spoken to one of the cats that got injured. And I just told him kind of within life, like you go through things, and I told him just to lean on God and not your own understanding. Everything's going to be okay. It's His plan. We kind of don't, we don't see it as humans. We don't see it at that moment when something happens. We kind of see it for what it is. Like, dang, like it's bad, but at the end goal, you'll see the maturity level of the cats that got hurt, and you'll see on the flip side that it was supposed to happen. It was God's plan. So,
yeah, he really, the thing that I thought was interesting is he basically turned the question around a little bit and didn't want to talk about, hey, what does it mean to the team? He was talking more about his teammates and how he cares about them and what they're doing. So I was actually, it was nice to hear that from Jade last night when after practice. We got him and Quinn Ewers as well.
It definitely hurts to see, that go down. And, injuries do happen. It's just a part of the game that we play, and it sucks to see that for sure. But at the end of the day, I think Coach Choice and Coach Sark do a great job of recruiting, good running backs that can ultimately fill in the position if needed. And ultimately, I'm just trying to do whatever I can to help this team win football games. So if that means I need to run more, then so be it.
Quinn Ewers was asked whether or not he might have to run more. I don't think he's going to be running more. I don't think that's going to be the plan. Sark, he will do what Sark says, but I doubt highly that will be Steve Sarkisian's plan for Quinn Ewers.
No. Look, I think one of the things Sark said, and it's going to have to come home when you suffer a couple of one key injury, right? Sark said at SEC Media Days he feels like he has 25 leaders. When he came in, the talk was about Roschon and Bijan in year one. He said last year maybe had 5, 6 guys. He said this year he feels like there's 25 leaders who've taken leadership over the program. And I think that's really key for teams, especially with for the younger players in a program, is when a little bit of an injury bug sets in, especially early in the season. This leadership council, whatever you want to call it, a mature, experienced football team, this is when this matters a lot because messaging is key, especially with younger players that haven't been through this before. So I think it's going to need to come home what Sark said. I have 25 leaders on this team because that message, when you have a little adversity, even before the first game is played, is key.
Okay, guys, there obviously a lot of news going on, but there's some recruiting news as well. Jerry, you've been on the road. You've been seeing different prospects. What you got for us?
Yeah, allergies have traveled. I'll tell you that. All right, so I was at Louisville High yesterday for their 6 a.m. practice. I actually am a big fan of 6 a.m. practices. You get to watch the sun come up while you're watching football. I'm not sure how many things are better than that, only if you have like Shipley's donut holes maybe. Watch Michael Fasusi, watch some of the young kids at Louisville High yesterday. Michael Fasusi, I'll tell you what, he looks tremendous physically. He turned 17 in July. He's 6'5" and a quarter on his Florida visit at the end of July. So 6'5" and a quarter without shoes on, 303, 84-inch wingspan, 10 and a half inch hands. Looks really good, moving really well. So that's a little lower back deal he dealt with late in the spring and throughout the summer. So maybe he's kept him off the squat rack as much. But he is, it looks really good. Offensive line coach there played at Texas Tech, was an offensive lineman when in the Mahomes years. So he is well coached. He also works with Donald Hawkins. So he looks good. He's really, I think, starting his maturation process as a football player because people forget how young he is in football. This is really year 3 of serious football for him coming up. And he's committing August 21st, which is the 5th year anniversary of his family coming to the United States. I think Oklahoma's been, trending there. I think he knows where he's going to go, and I think he continues to have conversations with all the college coaching staffs, really the 4 staffs that are really in it. Oregon's a hat on the table. I don't think, obviously it's going to come down to Oklahoma and Texas, and I think Oklahoma has been trending since the June visits. So we'll see what happens with this recruitment. But he talked to Steve Sarkisian 2 days ago, talks to Kyle Flood. And this is a battle. This is one that you keep battling for. And I think there's been some people in the chat saying maybe Texas isn't all in on Michael Fasusi and wants Turntine more. No, Texas loves both these guys. This is not hey, Mike, we really like you, but we like the 26 guy. This isn't Matt Brown telling Andrew Luck to kick rocks and you're not getting offered because we have a junior we like better. That's not the staff. Texas wants Michael Fasusi. The question is Oklahoma going to beat them on Michael Fasusi? But Texas is all in for Michael Fasusi. Then I went to Forney, got to watch Javian Osborne practice over at Forney, the 2026 running back that he was at the pool party in July 27th. He really likes a short choice. Texas really likes him. Really good second level runner. Now he's 5'9" and a half, 109. Here he is, 190 pounds, 191 pounds. Not as rocked up as Jarrett Gibson. He has a little more acceleration and burst there, you see, than Jarrett Gibson does. This kid has, when he gets to the second level and he sees the end zone, he's getting to the end zone. He has got that little burst right there. When he sees that opening, when he sees that green grass, and he sees he can maximize a play, now he's got some gear and some burst that I think sets him apart from some others. He may not have the best running back body type in terms of a guy that's going to be 5'9", 220, but he has speed and acceleration, and he'll probably be a 205-pound guy. But he has real open space, second level ability, and he has legitimate track speed for his size. He can catch the ball in the backfield. Very, very good player. And I'll say this, the head coach over at Forney, I've known for years. They are really – I've just known him from past recruitment, so I know the way he talks about kids. He is a big, big fan of this kid as a culture fit, teammate. Just the more than the ability you see on the huddle is the preparation, what he brings to a team. I saw a little bit of that yesterday as well. Bobby?
Gary, you know who he looks like to me? He looks like a souped-up Malcolm Brown. That's how he runs. You know what I'm talking about? Malcolm Brown out of Citadel Steel that played at Texas in the NFL. That's what he looks like. That's how he runs because he's got some subtle moves. Yeah, but he's got more acceleration than Malcolm.
Yes. Yeah. No, this guy's got elite high end acceleration.
Malcolm had all those subtle moves. Was a complete ball player. This guy's got that kind of run style, but I think he may have a higher upside.
Yeah. And by the way, we have Smooth, our one of my favorite Alabama guys in here. Look, Alabama's recruiting him too. Alabama's recruiting him. It's Texas. Texas A&M is very much in the picture. Alabama wants Javian Osborne based on what I was told yesterday. He went up and visited Michigan after Texas. I'm not sure he was that far away from home. Alabama, I know he loves the scheme of Kalen DeBoer, but a really good player, really solid back. I really like that he has, I call it quick vision, decisive. He sees it, it's decisive, and then he hits that little accelerator. So really good player. Then I went over to Saxe High. I'm going back over there today, but visit with coaching staff there. Visit with Khalil Lockett for a few minutes. I'm going to headed back over there today for a little bit longer because I was running around a lot. Had to go back to Fasusi to do an interview, which we'll have up. So Khalil Lockett looks pretty good physically. I mean, for what he is, 6'2", 175. Got those long arms, got those 11-inch hands. But we'll have more on Khalil Lockett coming up. But Michael Fasusi, Javian Osborne, well worth the time yesterday.
Good stuff, Jerry. Hey, Jerry, you talked to Bo Barnes the night before as well. We need to talk about him a little bit more. I think we got buried in news yesterday a little bit and didn't have enough time to talk about him. But first, let's bring in a guest. Blake, take it away, man.
All right, guys. We have lifetime Longhorn defensive back, former Bills defensive back, Aaron Williams joining us this morning. Aaron, how you doing?
I'm doing good, guys. How y'all doing? Good morning.
You enjoying that nice morning outside there on the patio?
Oh, yeah. I got my nice little cup of tea out here. Get the day started. About to get this workout in and get the day going.
Hey, Aaron, you're back in Austin, retired from football, and we were talking about it. Jerry had looked this up. You were in the same recruiting class as a number of actual Austin area players. Blake Gideon was in your recruiting class, right?
Yes, sir.
He's from Leander. You're from Round Rock area. Justin Tucker, the kicker from Austin, also in your recruiting class. Take us back to those days, your time as a Longhorn, and maybe give us a good Blake Gideon story just for fun. Just for fun.
Oh, man. My high school stories of Blake and I, Blake definitely has the advantage over me on that one because when we played them, heck, our junior and senior year, I think Blake and Leander beat us like 49-7 at the time. So Blake was always a guy that we talked about in Leander, especially at that time. They had that big game against Pflugerville. I think that was like the first highlight live football game of that year. I think they were on Fox Sports or something like that. It's just always been a competitive battle. When we all found out, J Tuck, Blake and I, once we figured out we were getting recruited to Texas, and pretty much had our mindset of going to Texas that, we become really good friends, but in between those lines, it was always just trying to get one up on each other. Just when we knew when we get on campus that we could brag about each other, that we had one up on each other. So, no, Blake's always been a great friend and a great player, especially being with his dad and being a legend in the being a football coach in Texas high school, and it's just always been a great battle between all three of us.
Hey, Aaron, one, you're still the only player to make it to the NFL from Round Rock McNeil High School, so congrats on that. You're still the one and only. But I wanted to ask you something about playing under Will Muschamp at Texas, because obviously Muschamp was a fan favorite. The attitude, the energy, the passion, the bleeding side of the head, the punching the board. You lived all of that, so. No offense, Blake. Give us some Will Muschamp stories.
You know what? Will reminded me a lot of my dad. Not as intense as my dad was, but I remember, as a recruit, you're showing them all of love. You know what I'm saying? They're being told you're a great player. You're number one this in the state. We look at this guy, but we notice that you're a lot better than this guy. But as soon as I stepped on campus and had that first day of practice, I remember one time Coach Muschamp was calling out our personnel. And at that time, I had a lot of older guys ahead of me, like Ryan Palmer, Deion Beasley, Earl, and all those guys. So they always got their first reps. And they went on campus early. So really, I'm in the back. I'm like kind of behind Muschamp, because I kind of know when I'm going in during practice. And I remember he called one personnel where it was actually where I was in, and he called it. I didn't hear it. Wasn't paying attention. He called it again, and I'm in the back behind talking to some other teammates. And then he turns around me and he goes, 11 personnel. And I look and I was like, oh, that's me. He goes, son of a gun, this is why, you know what, you freaking freshman. And there's a lot of more words I can't say on this broadcast right now, but he fired me up because, he let me know that, I was still a part of the package, and that I always need to be ready at no matter what. Like, just because I wasn't a starter and was, focused on always going on each and every play, that I was still a player to be that guy to be trustworthy on the field. And luckily it was in practice, but he got on my butt to let me know, all right, no matter what, I always need to be locked in at any point. So that blood rushing face and that red face that y'all saw in that video, that is pretty much an everyday thing for Will Muschamp. But it wasn't a bad thing. It wasn't something he was trying to bring me down on. It was more of just like an intense way of telling me to stay focused, that you are needed on this team. But if you don't stay focused, we will chew you on you. So there's plenty of aggressive Muschamp stories, but that's probably one of my favorite ones, because that was the first time I actually really got chewed out to the point where I was like, I will never mess up ever again. So Will Muschamp is one of my favorite defensive coaches that I've ever dealt with, or coaches of all time, besides Dwayne Aquina. So he made me the player that I am today, for sure.
Aaron, you played professionally with the Bills. You played for the Longhorns, obviously. Let me ask you this. Longhorns going into a conference, and we talked about this, Jerry and I did, as well as Blake. Jim Nagy, the executive director of the Senior Bowl, relayed something that he thinks that is underrepresented or not talked about enough. And that's the amount of DBs and good DBs that Texas and Quinn Ewers will face in the SEC. He basically said that, look, the SEC is a upfront league, but they're also a secondary league. They also have a good secondary. You think that the secondary and the pass rush combination is going to be difficult for Quinn Ewers when they go to face teams in the SEC this year?
Honestly, it's always been a discussion who was the best conference since I was considered the Big 12 when I was there. And even when we were winning and we were playing against SEC teams, uh, it's always been SEC's better or Big 12's better. And honestly, the SEC conference is definitely a conference where you really show your true competitiveness, your true athleticism, and to see where you are aligned with the best of the best. SEC has been known for a little more physical play. Um, there's been a plethora of DBs that come out of the SEC. I mean, we can go on for days. Drake or Patrick Peterson, uh, Stingley that was at LSU. I mean, there's a lot of guys that have come through out of that conference, and it is a harder conference in my personal opinion. The style play is a little bit more physical than any other conferences that we have seen or even that I've faced with. But this is the conference that I feel like Texas needs to be in because now it really proves that Texas is one of the best universities around the nation. And it's going to be shown because of the kids that we recruit and how we develop these kids to play at a high level. This is probably the one level tier below of what it's going to feel like on Sundays if they ever, God bless, they make that level. But these are the top of the top kids. And, when we played Alabama, it was very tough. I mean, we played Alabama, we played Arkansas, we played a lot of guys that have been in the SEC. And compared to the ones we played when we were in Big 12, you can just tell the talent level and just the way the physicality of what we played during the games was just like, okay, you do need to bring in each and every week when you go in the SEC. So not to say that, our guys need to be worried or anything because we shouldn't, because we're still Texas at the end of the day. We bring in the top guys and we are coached by the best coaches in the nation. It's just that now you get an understanding of what it feels like to have somewhat of a taste of what it's going to be like if you do make it on Sundays.
Aaron, I got a question for you, and thanks again for joining us. When you watch a young corner or a young safety, because you play both positions, what is it that impresses you? What is it you're looking for to say, this guy's got it?
I mean, really, at this point in today's age, as time goes on, the game changes in a little bit of instance. For me, at the time when I was playing, we had safeties that were guys that are like 6'2" plus, probably like 210 plus. He had corners that were more like 5'11", 6-foot-ish, about 185. Nowadays, you got to be more versatile. Safeties can play corner, corners can play nickel, nickel can play safety. It's more of what you can do to stay on the field. Guys are they're bigger, but they're more faster, they're more agile, and they're a lot quicker. For me, I think the number one thing to have is your footwork. Being a DB, you must have that footwork and have that eye discipline. But that's only the physical part. I think the best part of this whole thing is that if your mental is not intact, and what I mean by that is like actually knowing the game. There's a lot of people that are going to be fast and strong and quick, but like, how can you handle situations when it's 3rd and 10 on their 35? What coach on the other side, what's his play style? Is he a more aggressive coach? Is he more conservative? There's a lot of like mental intact things that guys need to start thinking through more than just, oh, this guy's 6'5", 2 something and can jump and is more of a vertical guy. Because now these guys are a little bit more shifty. You got guys like Tyreek Hill. There's a lot of Tyreek Hills in colleges now. There's a lot of Amari Coopers in college now. So it's more about the mental of not only that, but the technique you're liable to play on different situations of the game.
Aaron, you just mentioned a couple of guys. Who was the best player you ever played against? Who's the best receiver you ever played against?
In the NFL or college?
Anywhere.
Oh man. Well, in college, me and Ryan Broyles, a receiver at Oklahoma, me and him had a lot of battles going back and forth. Um, uh, Justin Blackman was also a real good competitor. I wish, there are a lot of things I wish he could have controlled off the field that would have made him stay on the field. As far as NFL, man, I can go on for days. I went against Calvin Johnson, Antonio Brown, Steve Smith. So there's I've been a what's crazy? I played against a lot of Hall of Famers, which is like super exciting to say. But those are the guys that made me better, just mentally, just overall, work on what the things I need. Because I always, focus on my God given ability. And when I got to the league, I understood that my God given ability was handed to each one of those players as well. So I had to figure out where in the defense did I rely on best to help our defense win games. And for me it was being at safety and just kind of monitoring the whole field instead of just being on an island worrying about one person. But that was just me because I was a little bit taller. My speed wasn't as fast as I thought it was or it could have been, but I also knew I can. My range across the field was where my expertise was at. So, I took that and just ran with it, and you know, thankfully that coaches also realized that as well, and had a good 6-year career.
One final question here for you, Aaron, before we let you go this morning. We appreciate you again joining us. Steve Sarkisian and what the Longhorns are doing right now. Are you ready for the season? What do you think of the program and its trajectory right now?
You know what? I was super proud of what they did last year, and I've always said, as long as we have the same year or if not more successful year than we did last year, I feel like Texas will really be back as far as recruiting wise. I feel like the last about 5 to 6 years, we struggled with recruiting just because we weren't winning. We weren't the old Texas. We were still trying to find our identity again. We were still trying to find the right puzzles and pieces as far as the coaches and players. And now that we have guys like Blake Gideon, who has been there in the national championship, who has been a part of a winning team, who got coached by Will Muschamp, who has a great name in college football. And then you got guys who are coming in from the SEC, like Steve Sarkisian, who's also been under Coach Saban. It's a winning. You can from on the paper, you have a winning team. It's all now trying to translate that on the field. And as long as they have what they had last year, it's going to be a great season. I'm super excited to have, especially when they go to the Big House and play Michigan. I'm still trying to find a way to get up there because that's one of my dreams of playing at the Big House, and for the guys to have an opportunity to be on a national level and play a team like that who just won a national championship. It's no better feeling for as a player for me to know understand like, okay, not only am I my closest friends and family going to be able to watch it, the state of Texas, but NFL scouts are going to be there, and high level guys and guys who will play in the league are going to be watching. But I don't want them to get too much into that. I just want them to go out there and just do what they do, because they wouldn't be wearing that Texas across their chest if we felt like they weren't able or capable to be on that field.
Aaron, I have one last question for you, and it's a viewer
Yeah.
question because I wanted to get a viewer question. And David Keith Williams asked, ask Aaron if he's involved with the current team in any way. Does he visit, speak to the program at any point during the season, off season?
I haven't been as active on the campus as much as possible. I think uh with Sarkisian, what he has going on, I try to not to always be in the way, but I'm always willing to go. I go check out their practices, and I check those guys off, or I check on them when I see them out downtown and whatnot. But my mentor Michael Huff is out there, so I always visit him when he goes into work, and I just always ask him like, "How is this guy? How's that guy?" I trained Michael Taft when right before he got on campus, so I check on him here and there. But but I would love to be part more of being a mentor to those guys. Just because, I have my little secret gems that no one really knows. But whenever Sarkisian has my number and all those other coaches have my number, and whenever they ask me to come in and try to talk to these guys, it's never a no. I always jump up and go and take that opportunity to pass on the knowledge that I know and that I've required from Hall of Famers like Ed Reed, who I had a coach with when I was in the league. And, but at the same time, those guys have their own regimen. Those guys have, what they want installed in those players. And whenever they need me, they know how to contact me. And sometimes I'll just pop up and just, check out the team and see if everything's intact. Because I know how it feels to be part of a winning program and a struggling program and know how to get back up to that winning program. So those guys have a lot of guys in their contacts to come and help those guys out. So whenever they need me, I'm, one phone call away.
Aaron, thank you so much, man. Tell your dad hello for me, by the way, buddy.
I will do. Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate that.
All right, hook 'em, dude.
Hook 'em, man.
All right, take care. Good stuff, Blake. Good stuff. Lining that interview up for us. Aaron Williams, good guy. I think he's still living in the Austin area. A number of different memories about him as a recruit, even for me, Jerry, coming in with one of Mac's last classes, actually.
Yeah, and Justin Tucker, obviously, there was a big Austin presence. I don't have that class pulled up, but there's a big Austin presence in that class. I think there was 5-6 guys from the Austin Syntex area in that class. DJ Durant was in that class. A couple of offensive linemen were in that class. But I remember one thing about Aaron Williams was because Round Rock McNeil, even though his dad was part of the space at the time, and whether the camp setting or whatnot, he's been affiliated with the Army and Adidas All-America game and FBU football for years. I think because Round Rock McNeil hadn't had a number of football prospects come through there, and maybe they weren't the best team, I think he was overlooked. I remember, Bobby, early in the recruiting process, he was really overlooked in the state in terms of state rankings. He wasn't even really a top 10 ranked player in the state of Texas, I think, when he committed to Texas or right before he committed to Texas. And I think he kind of popped up on the radars nationally a little later, even though he was in the Austin area, heavy populated area. His recruitment, I remember, being interesting to me from a rankings perspective.
Yeah, he started off relatively low, but ended up very high.
Yeah,
that's how he ended up, and he should have. And I think that Texas did such a good job with DBs back in the day. Man, just a tremendous job.
Well, Jerry, we need you to do a good job by telling folks out there about Manscaped.
I got to tell you, man, this ain't about the crop soother, but man, I was on 3 football fields yesterday in Dallas and it was 100. So that's another story. We're talking about the Beard and Balls bundle today, guys. Fellas, do you want your grooming routine to be one and done deal? You want to go KD? You want to go Kevin Durant, one and done? Well, the days of using the same trimmer for your face and your private parts are over, thanks to our friends at Manscaped. They've come up with the ultimate package to keep your hairs trimmed from 12 to 6. Great ad read. Introducing the Beard and Balls bundle featuring a Lawnmower 5.0 and the Beard Hedger, a trimmer for the moneymaker and another for the boys downstairs. Get 20% off plus free shipping with code ONTEXAS, all caps, at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code ONTEXAS, all caps, at manscaped.com for the premium grooming experience. Trust Manscaped. Why would you trust anybody else? It's too important down there. The Beard and Balls bundle. Here we go.
And on another note, I need to tell everybody out there about Factor. And fall is around the corner, guys, but for now, we're still in the middle of a sweltering summer. Days are long. They're still hot. You need that extra boost, but you can fuel up for them with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and they're ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you're always going to have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. And if you've been on the fence about eating better and making healthier lifestyle choices, then make today the day that you kickstart a new healthy routine. Over the past month or so, I've been really trying to take that head on. I've been trying to eat better so I can feel better. Factor has helped me do just that, and I promise they can help you as well. You can choose from 6 menu preferences to help you manage calories, maximize protein intake, avoid meat, or just simply eat well balanced. And with 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you're always going to have new flavors to explore. Just head over to factormeals.com/Texas50. Use promo code Texas50. They're going to give you 50% off your first box plus 20% off next month. That's code Texas50 at factormeals.com/Texas50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off next month while your subscription is active.
Hey, Blake, you know what the worst thing about school starting is?
What's that?
Colt's not super chatting anymore.
Hey, I gotta say, he first day in pads for my son. He had jaw surgery last week, so he got held out. So he had his first 6 a.m. practice today. Finally got to join the team, and he is more than ecstatic. He had been counting down the days. So.
I figured he was going to come home and say, "Man, I love baseball more now."
I don't know what's gotten into him here lately with the football deal, but he's loving it. So we'll see what happens.
If they had a 2:00 practice, I bet it would have been different.
Yeah, probably so. He had me have him up there at 5:45 this morning. He got there super early. Oh, all right. Well, we have some super chats that we need to get to. We're going to start here with KD35. Yeah. I am the best. He said, I saw on Instagram Tuesday that Vince Young has a son coming up that looks to be a quarterback. Could we see another VY coming to Texas in the future? And what do we know about his son, Jamin?
Well, Bobby hopes that's the case, first of all, as all Texas fans do. But it's actually interesting. The first time I saw Jamin, I was at TJ Ford Academy watching basketball. So they had some basketball recruits there working out, some kids in the Houston area. So I went over there. And Vince was there. And Jamin was working out in the TJ's facility. I think he was in 7th grade at the time, but really good basketball player. I think basketball may be his first love, but we'll see how big he gets, obviously. But really talented basketball player. I'll say they plays for Rashard Lewis's AAU team, I believe, in the Houston area. But he'll be he moves very fluidly, as you would expect him to. And he did so on a basketball court. I've not seen him in football yet. I think he's entering high school this year, if my timeline's right. So we'll see how he's progressing. But I can say it was just by luck that I was over there, and VY brought him over to get a basketball workout at TJ's place. But impressive young athlete. We'll see again, size-wise where he goes. Plays point guard in basketball. So that point guard quarterback thing, it's going to match up. So we'll see where he goes.
Isn't he going to Kincaid? Is that right?
Yeah. Should be a freshman at Kincaid this year.
Our next super chat comes from Jack. Thank you, as always, Jack. And he says, sorry to jump the gun, but tomorrow is day 16. I'm an OG, in my case, an old geezer. But for me, there is only one, Mr. James Street.
You know, we were talking, Jack. You're going to like this. We're trying to get a special guest for tomorrow. For those that like number 16. I'll just put it that way. We'll leave it at that. We don't know if we're going to be able to get that done, but we are trying. James Street, undefeated as a quarterback at the University of Texas.
And then we have a super chat from It's 420 Somewhere. Thank you for your super chat. And he says, Jerry, thanks for all your great work. Who should Texas be most concerned about getting flipped from the current commits? Hook 'em.
Right now, I don't have anybody on the get flipped to watch necessarily. I think you recruit through the whistle, we call it, and just recruiting guys that are, Texas trying to get the commit or trying to flip. But Josiah Sharma is always going to need special recruiting attention because people aren't going to back off a high-end interior defensive line prospect. Oregon's not, Alabama's not, nobody is. That's a recruitment that will go through December.
He's got to get the special TLC, is what you're saying. I agree. That position, and especially when he's far away from home.
Yeah,
like he's not at Round Rock McNeil like Aaron Williams was, right? That's going to be interesting. What do you? I did hear. What about Amari Winston? Is he still looking at other schools? The tight end out of Georgia. At one point, that was a concern. Is that
he visited Auburn, but I think it's been solidified. We'll check in early in the season. The key for me with all this is, especially a kid like that out of state, is during the season, does he pop up on the same campus he made an official to in June? And he made an official to Auburn. If he pops up at Auburn for a game this year, something we may have to revisit.
And our next question comes from Naaman Roberts. Naaman says, Jerry, I hear you speak of mostly all positions, offensive and defensive, but what about safety? And are there any new 25 or 26 recruits that Texas has their eyes on?
New 25, 26. The new 25, I think I'm watching Chase Sims, the defensive lineman at Richmond Randall down in Southwest Houston. He's committed to A&M. Really liked Texas early in the process. Texas did not bring him in for an official visit, but I think he's going to play above where people even thought when they were recruiting him this season. And so I'm kind of watching that one. I could see Texas making a run there, trying to make a run there. 26s, I'm trying to think anything new. I'll say this, is nobody Texas has offered yet, but Forney has a 2026 wideout that I had not seen until yesterday that TCU's offered that has a chance now. I mean, he has a chance to be a Texas, Oklahoma, A&M, that tier up level prospect in the state where all the three big schools go after him. He's got a chance, man. He was a natural, smooth pass catcher with size. So that's one kid I had not seen before yesterday that I kind of walked away saying, he's got a chance. And that's the fun part about going to these schools is if you go to a school with more than one guy, you're going to walk away saying, that guy's got a chance. Where it goes, I don't know, but he's got a chance. And Forney has one of those at wide out. I think the Louisville's not 26, but they're 27 class. They're going to have a number of sophomores on varsity. They'll have a couple of kids out of that group that end up being on a Texas radar for serious evaluation or potential offer.
And then we'll do another recruiting question here. This one from Xavier. And he says, you mentioned one time that Oregon was saying Michael Terry could play running back. Would Texas pitch that to him to try and seal his commitment?
Well, I don't think Oregon leads right now, so I'm not sure that is actually working, but they are far from home. If they were 2 hours from home, maybe it's a different story. But I think Sark is – I think they have the right message. But the other thing with Terry is he was more wide receiver than running back. And I think Texas is, Texas, everybody's recruiting him as an athlete, said, we'll give you an opportunity there. I think Nebraska's saying you're just going to play wide receiver, and that's what we want you as. Whether that ends up being the case or not, that will be proven out in time if he goes there. I think Texas is in a good spot. But I think Texas is I don't have an issue with the way they're recruiting Michael Terry. They have pretty much the entire offensive staff recruiting him. And that is Sark, Milwee, Choice, Chris Jackson. Chris Jackson's gotten more involved in that recruitment since the official visit. And they're telling him, look, if you want a chance at wideout, we'll give you an opportunity. It's up to you to go make it work. If that doesn't work out, we'll go back to the drawing board and figure this out. But all we know is we want you in this program as an athlete because we feel like you're one of the best athletes in the country.
And one more. I didn't see this until just now, and this is actually from the ontexasfootball.com forums. It's from Texas fan in Georgia. He says, Jerry, do you think that Christian Clark's injury forces Texas to try and add another running back to the 2025 class?
That's a really good question. I don't think high school back, though, Bobby. It's hard to take more than 2 high school backs in a class. If you do, that hurts you the following year. If you do, that means Tashard Choice has to have some difficult conversations that were told to guys throughout the recruitment. Could Texas look in the portal, Bobby? I think it's going to depend on the kind of Cedric Baxter and Christian Clark post-surgery this spring. How are they looking?
Yeah, I don't think they'll go portal at running back if those guys are healthy. And I don't think they need to take a second if those guys are healthy. Because you got to remember, they're also going to have Jarrett Gibson as a big back. They're bringing in Ricky Stewart as well as James Simon. They'll be fine. Excuse me, in that category. What's exposed Texas at this point is the fact that injuries happened at two of the same style of backs for Texas. It's like you just lost both of your first two slot receivers, and now all of a sudden you may not have you have just one slot receiver left, right? Texas lost two of its three big backs, which makes it, and you can't recruit for that. I mean, that's, when injuries happen like that, you just can't. It's like you start losing guys that you just, it's hard to plug put a finger in every hole in the dike, if you're one of those things. And I just feel like Texas is in a situation at running back where they've got a good plan. They need to keep executing it. They need to get through this season, hopefully with Jarrett Gibson healthy all the way through. Utilize Juan Davis a little bit in that big back role, maybe Darian Gillette if he's a guy, and try to move forward. I don't think they need to change up what they're doing. I really don't.
I wanted to bring this up.
Gary's point, the minute you go take a third running back is the minute you're not going to get Javion Osborne probably. The minute you go take an elite player somewhere else, maybe someone in the group already starts looking to transfer that you want to keep. So
I don't know if you guys have talked about this, but I've been on the road and I could have missed it. And so Nick Ramos says the Achilles is an insanely hard injury to come back for. Feel bad for Clark. This could be a 2-year thing. I'll say this. Obviously, modern medicine nowadays, there's different, more advanced surgeries. But I'll say this. My concern, you guys got to see how Christian comes back because it's a young age. That young age for that. So I think that's he's got a lot in front of him. I'm not saying he won't return and be a really good player, but that's a difficult injury at a young age for a running back. He's got a little road in front of him, and I'll say this: one thing we won't question about Christian Clark is, how difficult it is to graduate from high school early in the state of Arizona. He got it done. He's a guy that pretty goal-oriented guy, and when he sets his mind to something, he tends to go do it. So I'm quite sure he's going to attack this rehab and maximize it to the fullest, which will give him an opportunity to bounce back from what I believe is a tough injury for a young running back.
We have some more super chats to get to, but first, Bobby, I'm going to let you tell folks out there about Mint Mobile.
Yeah, absolutely. Friends don't let friends overpay for wireless. Say goodbye to your overpriced wireless plan and switch to Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you and your squad with premium wireless plans starting at just $15 a month. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your own phone number with you, along with all of your existing contacts. It's really that easy. With a second kid going away to college for me, it's something my family took advantage of. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/OnTexas. That's mintmobile.com/OnTexas. Cut your wireless bill to just $15 a month with mintmobile.com/OnTexas. A $45 upfront payment required. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
Well, as I said, we do have some more super chats and an interesting one here. We'll start with this one from John White. Thank you, John, for the super chat. He says, isn't it a pleasure to watch Blake Gideon recruit 4- and 5-star safeties just so we can watch Michael Taft get absolutely exposed, all for the sake of leadership?
Oh, John. Stirring up a hornet's nest early in the morning. Look, I want to say this. First of all, there weren't 4- and 5-star safeties on the roster, really, that were actually playing like 4- and 5-star safeties in the upper class, which is what Michael Taft is. I mean, Michael Taft played better than Jaron Thompson last year, guys. Got news for you. Played better than Keaton Crawford last year.
Keaton Crawford wanting the safety.
Yeah. And so you can bemoan that fact, but he also dealt with what he inherited. The only 5-star safety he has on the roster right now, I think, is Derek Williams, and he started as a true freshman. So what do you want him to do? Make players up? I mean, Michael Taft's a good football player. He's not Superman. He's not a 10-year All-Pro or something like that. But who is on this Texas football team right now? If you find somebody that's better, let's put them out there. And I think Blake Gideon would too. But I don't have any problem with it. They didn't have any 5-star safeties before Derek Williams. Maybe Xavier Filsaime ended up there, but he's also a true freshman. It's going to take a while for an 18-year-old to get ready. So I think that you're I don't know that Michael Taft got all that exposed last year either, by the way. So I'll just put it that way. I disagree with John's question.
I think he's going to get tested more this season with what he's got if he has an issue with speed, turn and run speed, that's going to get tested more this year than last year. Hey, Blake, I want to hit a couple of things real quick.
Before you do,
yes.
Can I knock out this super chat real quick? It's from UT Boy. Thank you, UT Boy, as always. He said, we had a ton of adversity since 2009. We are close. I suspect the climb to number 1 to be no different. That said, we're coming. Texas fight, hook 'em horns.
Climb the number one. Climb the number 1 is getting more difficult in college football, not easier. 2 of the last 20 teams, CJ and I did a video of this. 2 of the last 20 teams, I believe, to be ranked number 1 preseason, actually won the title. And that was in a much easier playoff system to go win a title. So to climb the number 1 is extremely difficult. And I think I'll say this. I mean, it's one of the things I love about college football now more than ever. Staying on top is going to be more difficult than ever because this is when we go to 16-team playoffs, and nobody gets a bye. It's going to be rough and tumble to win a national title. And to do it back-to-back years, if you ever get to that point, I'll say this, winning back-to-back national titles in a 12-team playoff, I think would be the most impressive thing I've ever seen in college football if that were to ever happen.
Yeah, it happened with Georgia just 3 years ago.
But, I mean, in a 12-team playoff where you have to win.
Yeah, it's going to be harder because there'll be more opportunities. I agree with that. Yep. But still, it's only a 2-team playoff. As long as it stays at 12, it's still just a semifinal and final for those teams ranked highly. So it's no different than it is today.
When it goes to 16, it's going to be a different game in college athletics and football.
Yeah.
All right, Jerry, take it away.
Okay, so Sharpshooter asked this. I'm sorry, I've got sun angles all over the place. How much taller is Lockett going to get? He's young for his age. I'll be back over there. I'll ask him if he knows the question or his growth plate's still open. Maybe 6'2.5". Maybe closes it on 6'3" if he hits one more growth spurt. I think that would probably be his max. Mike G has actually a really good question. When you talk to high school coaches, do you ask about opposing players? A player's coach should be an advocate for his players. That's actually one of the very first topics of conversation. It's my favorite question to ask a high school coach after his own players. Who'd you play against that you really liked? Who was the best player you went up against? Who was your freshman coaches tell anybody they went up against that was just a total stud for somebody they played against? That's where you find the information is, yes, you're there, but I know why I'm going to Louisville High. I know I'm going to see Michael Fasusi. I know they have a young linebacker, Devin Robinson, who's really talented, and a couple of DBs that already have offers in a 27 class. Here's the information you really find out. Who did they play that was really good? Then they start to mention, well, hey, my buddy coaches here, and he's got this freshman kid who's going to be really good. And that's where the conversation is, where you pick up so much information outside of why you were just there. It's invaluable. That's why you hit the road. Jose Rodriguez, last thing for me. Does Fasusi want to start as a freshman or sophomore? This is a key part of the recruitment. At UT would send a minimum of 3 years. I'm not sure I agree with that. I do think that he sees an earlier potential path at Oklahoma if that's his decision. I think that is a part of his equation, even though he's young, just turned 17 July 12th. And I think because he's so young in the game of football, I do think he would benefit from a learning year, but not many kids actually want to go that path, especially kids who are highly ranked and have been told how good they are for a number of years. So I think that's a part of his equation. And I think Oklahoma is selling that to him, quite frankly, man. And I think at Texas, you could go in and compete, but you also know there's a chance that you may go through a learning year. Maybe at Oklahoma, either way you envision it, you could go in and compete right away. We'll see. August 21st.
Let old Brent Venables put a little snake oil on it, sell it to him. It's the way it is.
We got another super chat, guys. Another one from UT Boy, and he says, "Oh, keep your eye on Jonte." Seriously, Jerry Hamilton.
I think I want to come back to something that while we going through some discussion topics, et cetera, that occurred last night. Quinn Ewers and Jahdae Barron were both asked about players that are, this or that or whatever. Jahdae specifically mentioned not Jonte Cook, but the receiver room kind of jogged my memory on this. He mentioned Silas Bolden as probably being his toughest cover of the guys in the receiver room. Just said he does a good job getting in and out of his routes, does a great job being fast and quick, that sort of thing. Quinn Ewers then was asked as a follow-up to that about Bolden in particular. And Quinn talked about how much you can tell Silas Bolden loves the game by the way he practices and the way he plays. He described a time, not only is he reliable, he said, but he said he described a time when Juan Davis caught a ball in the red zone in a scrimmage setting, kind of, innocuous red zone. It wasn't a true scrimmage. It was like just working as team on team. And Silas Bolden was the first person to go over there and celebrate with Juan Davis. And it was kind of like a huge celebration as opposed to just a normal, innocuous one. And I think that Silas Bolden is earning some respect in the locker room right now because of the way he approaches the game. Not just because of his ability, and he does have that, by the way, according to Jahdae Barron, but that sounded more like a guy that Quinn Ewers saw as a peer from a leadership. Hey, let's really follow this guy's lead a little bit because he's being a good teammate.
Silas Bolden is an Energizer bunny without batteries needed. I just that's what I think he is. Just seeing him in person, we had him on the show, doing a little research on him. I think he is endless energy, and with endless energy comes endless competitive spirit when you're 5'8", 160, and everybody your entire life has told you can't do it.
Oh, we have time for just another question or two, but before we get to that question, Bobby, one last time, tell folks about Adam Lowy.
Yeah, absolutely. Adam's our friend here at On Texas Football. If you've been injured in a car wreck, truck wreck, automobile accident of any kind, give Adam and his firm a call. LowyLawFirm.com, 20 years of experience helping folks around the state of Texas and even across the country at some level. Give Adam and his group a call. Again, LowyLawFirm.com. They'll help you with a free consultation, no strings attached. LowyLawFirm.com. Thanks again, Adam, for your sponsorship of On Texas Football.
Okay, as I said, time for just a couple more. And OUT Boy with another super chat says, I said Jonte, Bobby. All right. Let's see here. Jason Trimble, Bobby, Jerry. Why can't Sark introduce some 5-wide short passing game to take place of some of the running plays?
He can, and I'm sure he will at times, but it won't be wides. Like he may motion into 5 wides and actually be a 11 personnel situation, right? And I think he'll do that from time to time. I don't know that that's going to work against SEC opponents, though. People have tried to run the air raid. The only one that did it even marginally successfully in the SEC has been Mike Leach. And Mike Leach, I don't think ever won more than 9 games in the SEC. So be careful what you wish for there. That's not a long-term solution. They can do it at times, but again, I don't think you want to do it every down.
I think, look, Sark is an open-minded offensive coach, right? But that's not ideally what he wants to do. That's not ideally what he believes is the best formula for success. And I think that's the thing to always remember. Will he put the team and the players in the best position to be successful? Yeah, I think he's proven he's pretty good at that on offense. But that's not ideally the path he believes in is going to do that over the long haul. Will he have to adjust a little bit this year? I do think he's going to have to adjust the original plan this season on offense. How much so? We'll see. But he's definitely having to adjust it a little bit. There's no way he can't based on what we knew headed into the season and where they're at right now. So it's going to adjust a little bit. I think his versatility is what makes him so good. But he really does believe in the downfield passing game, the way the run sets that up, and everything making that work together and setting it all up on different levels to maximize over the long haul, over a season, over multiple seasons in college football. So I just don't think it's what he wants to do. That doesn't mean he won't bring it out a little bit.
And our last question for the day, guys, comes from James Henson. And he says, with the injuries at running back, what are your thoughts now about win totals? 9.5 being the over-under.
I don't have a problem with it. I think it still is. I mean, I still think that, look, as long as Jarrett Gibson doesn't get hurt, and I know this sounds I'm knocking on wood right now. As long as that does not happen, they still have a big back for short yardage that I think is capable, highly capable. The minute that injury takes place, that changes all of what you do on 3rd and 2. And that can be a real problem. And so until or unless that happens, I don't have any qualms with where Texas is at as it relates to the win total. I really don't. I feel like Cedric Baxter's a very good player, would help Texas. He's also a great player.
I'll say this: my calculus, how they get there is going to have to change a little bit. But I'll say this: offensive line, right side, and pass pro, and how much does the pass rush improve this year? Those are the 2 keys for me. That continue to be the keys for me. And the great thing about it is you're going to know really quickly. I spoke with somebody on Michigan, which is interesting. Michigan's not that far off. So when the topic comes up, they believe their offensive line, even though those guys have been backups, they believe they have 3 or 4 NFL offensive linemen that are going to start for them this year. So how much of a drop off are they going to have? I spoke with, by the way, just some nuggets we pick up. Spoke with somebody close to Georgia the other day. We was talking about Nick Brooks' recruitment a little bit, and apparently the freshman running back Nathan Frazier's turning heads from modern day. But Michigan believes they're going to beat Texas in a physical game in Ann Arbor. We're going to see. That I'm 100% they believe they're going to win.
Michigan wants to make it a cage match.
Yep.
Against everybody they play.
Yep.
Okay, that is a reality. that is not what Texas wants to do. They don't want to play in a box. They want to play with all 52 yards of the sideline or whatever that is. So,
Jerry, real quick, Texas Beats with the super chat. He says, "Show us the shirt, Jer Bear."
40-acre shirt. I got a little sun on me, but yeah, it's good stuff, man.
Those shirts are so good. I'm wearing one right now myself. This is almost a year old. The collars on these shirts don't turn. Like they don't, start wrinkling upwards. They're just really, really good, high quality stuff.
All right, y'all. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football, presented by Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm. We want to thank them, along with Factor, Manscaped, and Mint Mobile, for sponsoring today's show. Thank you all for tuning in, for the great questions, the super chats. Be sure, if you haven't already, to hit that like and subscribe button. We appreciate y'all's support. We're now at over 56,500 subscribers. That's just absolutely insane to me. Couldn't do it without you guys. So thank you for that. And if you haven't already, be sure to head on over to ontexasfootball.com. Sign up, become a member. There's just so much news going on right now, guys. Between that and YouTube, you will be covered for your Texas fix. Bobby, anything people need to know about later today?
We got state of the program coming up. Myself, Jerry, and CJ Vogel are going to talk a little bit about the running back room and some things that happened last night. Juan Davis and Ryan Niblett both taking snaps at running back during practice. Some other things we've heard from practice, as well as a broader look at maybe some recruiting topics that Jerry and CJ want to discuss as well. Beyond that, we'll have a number of different things coming up. I think Jerry has a sit down with a couple of recruits as well. And then please join us, by the way, on conversations on TexasFootball.com. I love seeing folks from the chats here migrate a little bit over to on TexasFootball.com, the website, because it gives us a chance to interact throughout the day as opposed to just when we're on here chatting, et cetera, and gives us a chance to get to more questions, have a little bit deeper conversation as well about the team. So check out on TexasFootball.com, become an OG, and come in and be part of the conversation.
I'm not putting that up, Brandon Huey. All right, well, we will be back same time, same place tomorrow morning. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you then.